Delaware is on the map. We have a booming population, a business-friendly atmosphere, a successful commercial airline, a thriving culinary scene, and a whole lot more. With national media starting to pay attention, the first state is stealing the spotlight as the place to live, work, and play. In this episode, we're getting into Delaware's incredible journey as it steps into the limelight. We'll uncover the secrets of how the state is turning heads and how it plans to ride this momentum. With me at the table, I have Steve Williams of the Delaware River and Bay Authority and Jen Boes of the Greater Wilmington Convention and Visitors Bureau. Let's dive in. Welcome to Conversations with Kelly, where we take a deep dive into important topics at the forefront of the business community. I'm Kelly Basil with the State Chamber of Commerce, and today we're talking about how Delaware is seizing its moment when it comes to tourism. With me at the table, I have Jen Boes, Executive Director of Greater Wilmington Convention and Visitors Bureau, and Steve Williams, Deputy Executive Director and Airports Director of the Delaware River and Bay Authority. Thank you both for being here with me today.
Thanks for having us.
I'm excited to dive into it, but first I'm going to let you both introduce yourself, just talk about what you do. Jennifer, you want to go first?
So I'm Jen Boes, the Executive Director of the Greater Wilmington CVB. I've been in my position about 2 years. And what we are is we are the destination marketing organization for Newcastle County. So we promote our region as a destination to travelers as well as people that plan meetings and conventions.
And I know that you've been executive director for 2 years, but you've been with the organization far longer than that.
Actually, no.
Oh,
3
really?
years. No, I joined the organization 2 months before COVID hit.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was a memorable experience.
That is memorable. Geez. Steve?
Sure. Well, again, good morning. I'm Steve Williams. I have two hats that I wear at the DRBA, Delaware River Bay Authority. I am the Deputy Executive Director, where I have oversight for governance matters, act as the Assistant Secretary to the Board. I have oversight for marketing, communications, and public information, public affairs. The other hat that I wear is as the Airports Director. And I've been in that role since 2005 at the DRBA, where we have airport operations in both Delaware and New Jersey. We have 2 airports in southern New Jersey and 3 facilities we operate in Delaware. Mm-hmm. And so a combination of things there, but essentially the public-facing role that we have is obviously operating the airports. That's the big deal, the big thing we do.
Yeah, and I think we're all very excited about the airport right now. I had a colleague fly on a Velo yesterday back from Nashville. So
Excellent.
So tourism, I feel like Delaware, and specifically Wilmington right now, has received a lot of press attention. You know, we're seeing the riverfront on the best of list, restaurants that are worth a trip down from Philadelphia, happy place to live. The list goes on. We're seeing a lot of national coverage as a destination. So I really want to get into what is driving that momentum. And I'll let either of you take that first.
So you forgot the big one, which is the 23 top places to visit in the U.S. in 2023 by Condé Nast. So I think what's driving it is this investment in our county. We have a lot of new inventory, and a lot of other destinations can't say that. East side of the riverfront is going to be getting developed. That's really exciting. We've had some really wonderful new restaurants, new retail. Mm-hmm. I think things are just popping. There's a lot to talk about. And also, it doesn't hurt that we have a sitting president that lives in our area, and that's really shown the national spotlight on us as well.
Definitely. And Steve, do you have anything to add?
Well, sure. I mean, and my perspective of all of this is that we always had a very capable airport facility located right in the middle of the county, an important transportation element. And so from an infrastructure perspective, the airport has always been there. It was a function and a question of, over the years, finding the suitable commercial partner that could dance with us, essentially. Mm-hmm. And so providing having the ability to have transportation to and from that facility has been my mission since I started at the DRBA. And so I think the timing of that, everything that Jen just mentioned, as well as the availability of a transportation facility that could handle all of that was important. And I guess we'll talk more about that as we go forward. But that was important to the airport was ready, the airport was capable, and we're starting to see that the timing of that is very, very important as well.
Definitely. And I do want to dive into the airport in a minute. But you mentioned investments, Jen, and I'm curious, can you expand on that? Is it private investment? Is it investment from government? Combination?
I think it's a combination across the board. And I think another thing that's happening is we're all starting to work together. So it's entities like the city, the state, our bureau, private investors working together because we all want the same thing for our county. We want the best for our county. And I think because of that, that's helping to raise the visibility outside of the traditional markets.
I agree. I've been working downtown for over a decade now, and it's been really cool to see where it was then and where it is now. It's very exciting. I love going to dinner downtown and seeing all the new apartment buildings that are popping up. And it's really exciting.
Yeah, I think it definitely helps that there are so many people living downtown now. I have a friend that lives in 101 DuPont, and it's so wonderful to be able to just walk out and go to restaurants anytime you want. The streets are crowded, especially, toward the latter part of the week, which I don't think it was that way in the past. So it's a great time to be in Wilmington and Newcastle County.
Definitely. So what factors make Delaware an attractive choice for businesses looking to grow and locate here? So we're talking a lot about tourism and people, but that momentum we're also seeing from the business community as well. Curious how, the airport plays into that.
Sure. So from the airport perspective, and just to back up, I always look at the airport as, call it the 4 C's. Civil defense, which are the Delaware Air Guard and the Delaware Army Guard and the Delaware Air National Guard are both located at the airport, provide for civil defense. We have a component that we consider to be corporate aviation, large corporations that operate their own business jet aircraft and provide access to and from Delaware. There's the capability of cargo as well. And the last C is commercial, that we've obviously started to experience in very much this year. So what drives interest is location and the low cost environment on our airport. Really, we have a very competitive fee structure on the airport that we think is what gets the attention of some of the companies that we do business with. Those corporations that would locate their aircraft in New York or Philadelphia can have a more competitive and a congestion-free experience at our airport here. And not to mention that a lot of these companies are also based in Delaware or have their corporate offices in Delaware as well. So that was an important component, as well as the airline that found a very attractive network with respect to where we're located, as well as the cost structure, as I mentioned before. And that was important.
Jen, do you see the addition of Avelo affecting, when you're talking to hotels and other, restaurants in the area? Do they see any sort of connection to the fact that we have a commercial airline now?
Well, I think it's early days, but I definitely think everyone would agree that Avelo is a game changer for Newcastle County and Wilmington. And one of the things we're going to be working on this year is working on drawing visitors from the destinations that Avelo services to Delaware.
That's great.
And what's wonderful is some of the destinations, Daytona specifically, is already doing a lot of that for us. So they're partnering with us on promoting Wilmington as a destination. So we're going to work on that in the coming months.
That's great to hear, because one of the questions I have for you, so we have a conference called Developing Delaware every fall, and it's our economic development conference. Last year, we had site selectors come in, and of course, this conversation was more around businesses. But the point that they made was that Delaware needs a marketing plan. They need to broadcast all that we offer. We've made so many strides when it comes to infrastructure, regulations, downtown renaissance, all of it. But now we need to tell everyone about it.
I couldn't agree more. I think that's a need that we definitely have.
Yeah.
And I would add to that a lot of the things that attract a tourist to a destination are the same things that attract a business and employees to a destination. So there's a lot of crossover between economic development and tourism.
Definitely.
the number of destinations and the markets that we're have nonstop services to. Just to mention 6 destinations in Florida, 2 in North Carolina, 3 in South Carolina, and 1 destination each in Georgia, Tennessee, and soon Puerto Rico.
Mm-hmm.
That is huge for Delaware.
And that's all in 1 year.
That's all within 1 year, actually within 6 to 7 months.
Yeah, truly. Yeah.
So it is early days. We've been in a similar position before with multiple destinations nonstop from Delaware, and so we will see. It really depends on us. It depends on our ability to promote the service, our ability to get people to make a choice about where they fly to and from. There are other options, other airports and other airlines in the region. And so we like to think of this as very much a parochial thing for us here in Delaware. We've always had again, I said, we'll have the ability to do it, but here we have a dance partner now that actually gives us that capability with those destinations I just mentioned. So that's important. It is early. But so far, so good.
So far, so good. What do you think or anticipate being challenges with kind of keeping this momentum going?
Well, for the airline, let me just say, and for the airport is there. It is the sustainability of the commercial air service market, for which there is the things that are not in our control: fuel prices, labor costs. Air traffic control related issues related to staffing at the federal level that make the flying experience a challenge these days. Again, the federal budget, for instance, with respect to TSA and the TSA's ability to continue to staff and provide equipment to the airport. And also, so on the commercial side as well, the marketplace for airlines itself, and the ability for airlines to continue to provide capacity at small airports like Wilmington. I think that becomes, from a competitive perspective, those are things that we don't control. And the investment in that airline and its own board of directors. I'm happy to report that in October, the second week in October, the Avella board of directors will actually hold one of its meetings here in Delaware.
That's great.
It's really cool to hear.
So yeah, that's really exciting. And I think it's an important thing that they're recognizing we are important to their national network. Remember that we remember that Avella has base of operations in Burbank, California, New Haven, Connecticut, Raleigh, Orlando, as well as Wilmington, Delaware. And so I think that's important that they recognize that this is an important part of their national network.
It's really great to hear that they're as invested in us as we are them. Jen, from your perspective, what challenges do you see or anticipate?
So I see 2. One, we're noticing that there are a lot more people coming in via Avella, via Amtrak, and they're not coming with vehicles. So making it easy for them to get out and see things, say out in the Brandywine Valley, if they don't have a car. I know that DART is working on a couple of initiatives that could help. And then the other one, I think it's kind of like a chicken or the egg kind of thing. We're seeing a lot of larger conventions come in. In fact, conventions that are interested in locating here, but we don't have the capacity or we're very close to.
So, oh my gosh, you're like preaching to the choir.
Yeah. Right. So we know that business travel during the week hasn't come back, but the meetings and conventions business is booming. It would be great at some point if there were more facilities and rooms for conventions, assuming that this trend is going to continue, this wonderful trend.
Yeah.
In spring, it looks like we're going to have 3 huge conferences back to back in Wilmington.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's great news.
I can tell you, as a state chamber, we hold a lot of events throughout the year. And I've been saying for years that it should be an economic development priority that we have a better inventory of venues, just bigger. And our attendance is growing at a lot of our events, and we're running out of options to be able to hold them in spaces. So thank you for putting that as a challenge. Are there any specific sectors that either of you are kind of focusing on from your perspectives that maybe we're trying to drive growth towards?
Well, let me say from the airport and aviation perspective, we're very excited to be working with a company that we hope will base here in Delaware, bring operations. They're a company that specializes in aircraft maintenance and overhaul. That's a sector that has always been very strong. The talent pool remains. That is an important part of the national network, both on the commercial and the corporate side. Maintenance and upkeep of aircraft is an important element within the whole aviation framework.
And I don't think people realize how prevalent the aviation industry is in Delaware.
Very strong and traditionally very strong. With this, what we call MRO. In aviation speak, that's a maintenance, repair, overhaul. That requires a specific license. And again, when we talk about the airport, we talk about quality jobs. We talk about the kinds of things that would replace some of the industries that are no longer strong or big in Delaware. For instance, auto workers and such like that. Well, that same skill set, in some respects, gets transferred to how folks maintain an aircraft as well. That's important. We're still looking at cargo opportunities wherever we can with that. So from our perspective, it's not just the commercial aviation component
right
at the airport, but it's those specific sectors that support and create growth for other industries in Newcastle County. So that's important to us, and we continue to market the airport that way. Yeah.
Jen, do you have any target industries?
So meetings and conventions are big for us. Sports tourism is increasingly big. During COVID, I mean, that was the one Teflon niche that didn't really suffer. So we think we'll continue to see that grow. Also, our cornerstone is always going to be history, culture, and arts, but we've obviously seen a very strong food scene emerging. And I think food brings everybody together no matter what their other interests are. And it doesn't always have to be the high-end award-winning restaurants that benefit from tourism. I think Union Street has great potential. It's one of the most ethnically diverse neighborhoods that we have in Wilmington in terms of food and otherwise. So food is definitely a big focus. And the other thing, which isn't really a niche that we're promoting, is to get ready for the 250th anniversary of the U.S. Because of our proximity to Philadelphia, because we're the first state, I think that we'll see an unprecedented amount of international travelers visit our state as a result of that.
That's a really interesting point. How do we prepare for that sort of an influx?
So we're having a Zoom forum. I believe it's next week with the woman, Margaret Hughes, the state hired to kind of oversee all the state's efforts for the 250th. And I think our role as a bureau is to kind of promote. So what we want to do is get everybody thinking about what they can do individually to celebrate it, and get started early, because I think a lot of other destinations are way ahead of us in terms of the planning.
Interesting. You also opened a visitors bureau recently. What was the need for that, and how is that going to help with all of this?
So we had a visitor center at our office location, which is downtown, across from Deco. If everyone is familiar with where Deco is, we lost it during COVID, just basically to cut expenses and stay afloat as a bureau, and we're unable to get that back now because it's used for other purposes. So we started looking at locations at the riverfront, which had always, I think, been in the back of the mind of my predecessor as well. And we got really lucky with the Newcastle County Chamber. They were able to give us one of their incubation spaces. And we have been amazed at the traffic. I mean, it is so much more than we ever had downtown. So I would definitely say it's a success. And I think that's only going to grow as the familiarity grows and we get some more signage up. But we talk a lot to people visiting, but we also talk to a lot of people that are relocating. So I think that's another good sign for Delaware and Delaware's economy.
Well, one of those lists that I mentioned earlier was that Delaware is a top 10 state that people are moving to. So we're also seeing a lot of people not just visit, but choose to stay. And so being able to accommodate that growth at the same time is important. We actually will have another episode just on housing this season, which is a big topic as well. Steve, so relationship with the Velo. Now you mentioned that they're really excited about the partnership and are really invested in the success of the Wilmington airport. Can you tell us any exciting things that might be on the horizon with them? Or
Well, I can tell you that everything that they and we planned when we started this partnership has come to fruition, with very few exceptions. There has definitely been a focus on the airline's part to make the investment in us. We have, and we measure this in terms of what we call based aircraft.
Mm-hmm.
And right now they have 2 based 737s. That means those 2 aircraft fly a network of cities throughout the week. And they are talking about with improvements that we make at the airport coming along with that would be a 3rd based aircraft.
That's exciting.
So that creates for us additional capacity to fly to wherever.
Right.
And so, on the list of cities that we expect them to announce, you look at the New Haven network out of Connecticut, and whatever they do in Connecticut, whatever they do in New Haven is probably going to be duplicated in Wilmington.
Okay.
So the relationship is great. So far, so good. It's hard to believe it's only been about 6 months or a little more.
I can tell you anyone that I've heard fly a Velo has had rave reviews. Yes, Regina sitting to my left is saying yes. The ease that it is to be able to go to the Wilmington airport versus driving to Baltimore or Philadelphia is incomparable. And it's great. So it's just very exciting to see this all happen. Jen, do you have any things that we can look forward to? Insider scoop announcements? Not to put you on the spot. You can give a teaser.
I just want to give another shout out to Velo.
Yeah, that's fine.
Because I think that's one of the big things that happened this year.
Mm-hmm.
I myself flew it to Florida, and I don't think I'll ever fly another airline to Florida again because it was so easy.
Yeah, that's great. Before I wrap the conversation up, I want to give you both an opportunity to just share or ask anything that maybe I missed.
Well, I'll go, and I think it's all been said. That, and just reminding everyone that what we've experienced in Wilmington with the service that has been introduced is unprecedented in the United States. We are the talk of the air service industry in the United States. Every time I go to a convention,
Really?
meet with my peers, they want to know how we did this. They want to know how we went from 0 to the number of destinations.
Mm-hmm.
And really, it was just a matter of timing. It's a matter of timing and the right dance partner. A lot of the people that actually work for Velo used to work for other airlines who we used to talk to them all the time about service to Wilmington. So they knew us, they knew what we were capable of, and just a matter of, as I said, timing. So I think what we've experienced here, as unprecedented as it is our time. I see this as very much our time.
Mm-hmm.
We strike while the iron is hot,
Mm-hmm.
and I think this is Delaware's time. That's the way I view this.
And I think too, Jen, you made the point earlier, but people willing to work together to make it work. I think we're all in that spot right now where it's like, this is it. Let's get this done. Let's make it work.
You didn't forget, but one thing I did want to note that we're all very excited and proud of is the fact that the Biden campaign is going to be based in Wilmington for this election. And I think that's going to be another opportunity to have the national spotlight and international spotlight shine on our city. And also, we have in 2026 the FIFA World Cup coming to Philadelphia, which is going to be huge. I think that's going to be another big driver of international visitation here. Mm-hmm. And I think we can get some really great traction out of it in terms of our restaurants and hotels.
And that goes back to your sports tourism comment earlier. We didn't even mention the BMW tournament that was here recently. That saw a ton of visitors.
Yes, the BMW championship was huge. And again, you can't put a price tag on the television coverage that Wilmington and Greater Wilmington got as a result of that, not to mention the business our hotels and restaurants were able to generate.
Huge economic driver. Huge. Well, thank you both. Before we wrap this up, I do want to give us a moment for our combo connection. which is where we give a shout out to a person, a business, someone in the community that's doing something great and is worthy of a shout out. Steve, I'll let you go first.
Well, I mean, really, it's a shout out to everyone that has been involved in putting our air service program together. All the partners we have on the marketing and the development side to make this happen. Our partners at the airport, our partners in the industry and marketing and promotion, tourism, the hotels in the area. Really, it's no one individual. I think for us to get to where we are. And put this together so quickly, it's been a real wonderful orchestra of a lot of different people helping with this, and it's been wonderful to see. And so that's my shout out really is to not just the airline. We've talked about them. Avelo is certainly our partner here. What we always wanted was a corporate partner, and I think we have that now in the airline. So just shout out to everyone that's been involved in putting it together.
That's great. Jen?
So I'd like to give a shout out to the Allies, which is the group that meets regularly. And it's all the organizations in Wilmington that have a hand in economic development and tourism. So ourselves, the city, It's Time, In Will, there are a lot of them. Downtown Visions, Wilmington Alliance. And
Can you name them all?
I named as many as I could. That's most of us, but the chamber. But we all just get together and kind of compare notes in terms of what we're doing and what we've got going on and how we could work together. And I think it's a great way to get more return on our investment.
I love that both of you just shouted out something that has to do with collaboration. My shout out, I'm going to thank Tech Impact for letting us use their space for this season. We're in a gorgeous office space down in Newark on the University of Delaware's campus in the Data Innovation Hub. So shout out to Tech Impact. Thank you both for joining me. Jen, if anyone wants to get in touch with you after this conversation, how can they reach you?
They can reach me on my email, JenBoes @visitwilmingtonde.com, or go to our website, visitwilmingtonde.com.
And Steve?
Well, they can get a hold of me at my email address at stephen.williams@drba.net, or importantly, they can go to flyilg.com. Flyilg.com will put you, has a link also to Avelo's website. I'll just remind everyone that through the end of the year, with the code FlyILG23, you can get $23 off any round trip fare to and from Wilmington. So that's important as well. So flyilg.com, that's the site to visit.
And if you would like to engage with the State Chamber, we're on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, you name it, we're there. Or visit our website, www.dscc.com, and you can find my contact information there as well. Thank you both. Have a great day.
You too.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Conversations with Kelly, brought to you by the Delaware State Chamber of Commerce. Our thanks, as always, to our production partners at Short Order Production House, a bowstring company. And before we sign off, please take a moment to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you're listening. I know podcast hosts say this all the time, but your support is invaluable, and it helps other listeners find us easily. I'm your host, Kelly Basil. We'll see you soon.